Hello, my name's Kayla, this is Cinnamon Peaches and Sage, and today we're going to be looking at how dreams fit within the Pokemon Multiverse. In case you're new to my channel, this video is part of a series called Pokemon Multiverse Explained. If you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend you check those videos out as well. To understand how dreams fit in the Pokemon Multiverse, we first need a relatively solid understanding of how the Pokemon Multiverse works as a whole. As I have repeated many times throughout this series, as well as on my Twitter, every single copy of every single Pokemon game exists in a separate parallel universe. For example, in my copy of Violet, I started with Sprigatito, whereas you may have started with Fuecoco or Quaxly. While we may notice some similarities across our two games, ultimately, they are taking place in separate universes. Otherwise, it would be impossible for us to choose different starters. This is true across different titles as well. For example, we might have my copy of Shield out here as one universe and my copy of Violet out here as another universe. We can trade between them, but they are fundamentally separate universes. A common confusion that I see is that people think that ultra space and outer space are the same thing, but they're actually totally different. In real life, how do we get to outer space? Well, we take a rocket ship up into the air and then we're far away from the planet. We are in outer space. We see outer space in Pokemon as well, like when the player character in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire rides Mega Rayquaza into outer space to take on Deoxys. Outer space is something that you can just travel to by moving in a certain direction, but ultra space can't be accessed just by moving around. To get to ultra space in Pokemon, you actually have to break through reality. But to do that, we probably need an understanding of what makes up reality. Fortunately, in real life, scientists have started to come up with a framework to explain how our reality works. I'm talking about string theory. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Kayla, Pokemon is a game for kids. String theory is incredibly complicated science. Why would they combine these two things? Like, you gotta just be making up a connection here, right? Except in interviews for the Gen 4 games, the creators of those games confirmed that string theory was a huge inspiration on how they structured their universe. String theory is the idea that reality is made up of multiple different dimensions interacting with each other. When I say dimensions, those are very different from universes. They exist within a reality, not in ultra space. In real life, there are thought to be at least 6 dimensions, and so far in Pokemon, we've also seen 6 dimensions. I'm gonna go through each of these dimensions and how it relates to Pokemon. I know you might be thinking that dimensions sound very complicated right now, but I promise you, in about 5 seconds, they're gonna make total sense. Mostly because you live in reality, so you're actually experiencing them right now. The first 3 dimensions are the X, Y, and Z axis. That's why it's said that we see things in 3D. Things have height, like I'm 5'4" tall. In addition to height, things have width. And then you can't see depth super well on a computer screen because the computer screen is flat, but my microphone is in front of my face. These first 3 dimensions are often combined together and referred to as space. Note that when I say space, this is very different from outer space, which is a certain distance away from the planet. Space is also very different from ultra space, which is the area between 2 universes. When I'm saying space, I'm literally referring to these 3 dimensions, so height, width, and depth. In Pokemon, each of the dimensions has a ruler. The ruler of space is Paldea. This is why sometimes when people say, oh, we're going off into outer space, Paldea should be involved, I'm like, that's a different type of space. Same thing with ultra space. Paldea is not involved with that type of space. It's literally just the different dimensions. The first 3 dimensions are super easy because we humans can physically see them. The 4th and 5th dimensions we can notice notice as humans, but not actually see. The fourth dimension is time. I say that we notice time and not see it because if you had to describe what time looked like, you wouldn't be able to do that. But you can see objects pass from one location to another. Even as you watch through this video, you are experiencing the dimension of time even though you can't see it. In Pokemon, the ruler of time is Dialga. One thing that people often get confused with Dialga is they think that Dialga should be able to reverse time. That's not exactly what happens when you look at the fourth dimension. If we as humans were able to see the fourth dimension, we would see all of time simultaneously. There would be no before and after. It would all just be now. This is why Dialga is very different from our time travel Pokemon. Dialga is more like a facilitator of all of time, not focusing on moving time around. The fifth dimension, which we as humans can experience but not exactly see, is gravity. Scientists used to think that gravity and antimatter were very closely related, and this is why Giratina, the ruler of the fifth dimension, is the antimatter Pokemon. The previous association with antimatter is why Giratina gets this shadowy appearance. The distortion world itself is clearly related to gravity. We see waterfalls running all different directions. We're able to move across different platforms that with conventional gravity we would not be able to. Clearly, even though Giratina is said to be the antimatter Pokemon, because of the scientific discoveries that we've had since then, we should associate Giratina with the fifth dimension, which is gravity. What's interesting about the different dimensions is that they all impact each other. For example, we have space that we move through across time. Gravity also impacts our perception of time. There have been numerous studies about the effects of gravity on aging. Aging is a way that we experience time. You've probably heard the thought experiment of two twin brothers where one goes into space and travels around really, really fast and then comes back, and then the twin that traveled around really, really fast is actually younger than the twin that just stayed on Earth. This change in time was caused by a change in gravity. Therefore, all of these different dimensions are interconnected, which leads us to the final dimension that we know of in Pokemon, the sixth dimension. In real life, when we get beyond the fifth dimension, it gets super complicated. But in Pokemon, it's actually much more simple. The sixth dimension in Pokemon is dreams. It's kind of unclear if dreams are meant to be actual, like, go to bed, go to sleep dreams, or more like visions. I tend to go more with the people in the Pokemon world experience the sixth dimension as dreams, not as it actually just being the kind of dreams when you go to sleep. Throughout various Pokemon games, dreams have been shown as a way of accessing other realities. But Kayla, you said that Ultra Space is between realities. How does this make sense with what you're saying about dreams? Well, if we think about these dimensions getting more and more complicated, almost like layers insulating our universe's reality, the layer of dreams is the furthest layer from what we experience. Because of this, the dream layer is the closest layer to Ultra Space, to other realities. This is why we see traveling to other realities being described as kind of like a dream. That's also why in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Terapagos is able to blend realities by accessing the sixth dimension. Instead of breaking through all of the other dimensions like we see with Ultra Wormholes, Terapagos is simply blending the layer of dreams so that it's so thin that small things can pass between universes. I know you might be thinking that Paradox Pokemon are not small, but in the grand scheme of the universe, a Paradox Pokemon compared to a planet, compared to a galaxy, it's small. It's very small. All of the other universes in Pokemon have certain Pokemon that rule over them, so which Pokemon rules the dimension of dreams? I personally think it makes most sense for Terapagos to be the ruler of dreams, but I could see arguments for certain other Pokemon as well. Anyways, to summarize what we learned today, universes in Pokemon exist within Ultra Space and are made up of dimensions. First, second, and third dimension are called space and are ruled by Palkia. Fourth dimension is time, ruled by Dialga. Fifth dimension is gravity, ruled by Giratina. And the sixth dimension is dreams, which may or may not be ruled by Terapagos. Do you think Terapagos is the ruler of the sixth dimension in Pokemon, or does some other Pokemon make more sense? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and join our Discord Capsule Monsters, where we talk about Pokemon theories. I hope you have a great day or night, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!